we're going to look at some of the offseason storylines now. We've already talked about Deshaun Watson, so let's take him off the table. That's an offseason storyline that's already hovered over the offseason for the teams that didn't make it to the playoffs. This year it was 18 for the first time ever. So he's off the board. The first storyline that I'm interested in, Charean, and that I will be paying close attention to, and it has ramped up dramatically over the past couple of days, is Russell Wilson's future with the Seahawks. I don't believe they will trade him this year, but I do believe this is the year that they have got to prove to him that they're going to let him be involved with personnel, that they're going to let the offense run through him. He's no longer an accessory or a passive participant. He's the offense, just like it is in Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes. And if those changes are made, then it can be salvaged. If not, then I think come next year, we will be in a position where Russell Wilson is looking elsewhere and quite likely being traded elsewhere. I'll say this, though. Here's the caveat. June 2nd. Because trading Russell Wilson before June 2nd results in a $39 million cap charge for the Seahawks. After that, it'd be 13 this year, 26 next year. And when you consider there's most likely not going to be an offseason program, what does it matter? You don't need to have the deal done March 17. The deal can wait until June 2, especially since there's no way to do the deal before June 2 from the Seahawks' perspective. So I won't be surprised if it happens after the dust settles on the offseason, after we see free agency, after we see the draft. That could be when Russell Wilson goes in and says, I gave you a chance, you didn't do it. I want out on June 2nd. So I've got that little slice, that little sliver, that little crevice in the door where I think there's still a chance that Russell Wilson could be gone by the time we get to June 2nd.
I think he's there this year, Mike, and I agree with you. He's going to give them a chance to see what they can do. But this thing is spiraling out of control quickly. When you go back and you look at what Brandon Marshall said yesterday, that he thinks that Russell Wilson is trying to find a classy way to get out of town. I think this is headed toward a divorce at some point. I think it's probably a year away. The only thing I think that keeps Russell Wilson in Seattle long-term is another Super Bowl, just getting to the Super Bowl. I mean, we know he won it his second year, 2013, 2014. They should have won it. And since then, 3-5 in the postseason. A lot of it is not Russell Wilson's fault.
And the other side of it, too, is he's going to continue to want to get market value contracts. He's had 2 of them. His current deal lasts for 3 more years. And I think by next year, his agent will be basically issuing the ultimatum. We want the market value contract, or we want this to end now. And I also think there's a chance that the Seahawks aren't real happy about what's gone on over the past few days. And they may decide this is just untenable. This is no longer something that's going to work. We're not going to give him say over personnel. We're not going to turn the team upside down. We don't want to do this. That could accelerate his departure from Seattle. All right, we have Charean back. I believe I'm going to tee up Charean for her first storyline for the 2021 offseason.
Well, Mike, we saw the picture and you wrote about it of Jerry Jones going into the Prosper convenience store to buy a bottle of wine. Initially, I thought, hey, is he going to celebrate maybe with Dak Prescott, who lives in Prosper? But it turns out that it wasn't champagne. It was just in a bottle of wine. So we're assuming that didn't happen. But it's the Dak drama. And what are the Cowboys going to do? I mean, they've had almost 2 years, Mike, to get this guy signed to a long-term deal. They still haven't done it. And if you get to the draft and you've applied the franchise tag to him, which is over $37 million, I think you have to consider using your first-round draft pick, that's 10th overall, to draft a quarterback. I just think you have to think about it because you don't know if you're going to have this guy long-term. And I think this is going to be a storyline that's going to play out over the next few months. It's not going to get settled anytime soon.
$37 million plus for this year, plus the reality that next year it will be a 44% bump over the $37 million if they want to tag him a third time. That's over $53 million for 2022 if they choose to do that. And Dak Prescott has always pushed his leverage. He's always played this business angle. This is part of the revolution at the quarterback position. Kirk Cousins started it. Dak Prescott's continuing it through action. Russell Wilson getting involved through words. Tom Brady, one of the big movers of the needle, going from New England to a place where they basically gave him the keys to the car, or the boat, as the case may be. It's fascinating. And one quick thing on Jerry Jones and his wine purchase. I often wonder how different life would be if you had multiple billions of dollars, and at last check, he's worth $8.5 billion. It's kind of depressing to know you still go into a gas station to buy your wine. And it's kind of alarming, Charean. Now, maybe the security guy was the one who took the camera. It's alarming to see someone with that kind of money without someone nearby to make sure that something doesn't happen to the guy with that kind of money who would be a target for all sorts of potential misconduct.
I am betting Roosevelt wasn't far behind his long-term bodyguard. He's usually around there, and you can usually find him. So I'm betting it was somewhere around there, Mike.
Wait, why doesn't Roosevelt go in to buy the wine?
Well, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I'm with you. Why isn't Roosevelt buying the wine?
You know, maybe Jerry just had to pee. I don't know. I'm trying to understand why the guy was in a 7-Eleven carrying 2 bottles of wine that go for, though at least the one in his right hand goes for about $20, and it was a 7-Eleven. I can't imagine that the other bottle was anything that, was $100 or more. But hey, life as a billionaire, apparently not all that much different than the life the rest of us lead. All right, I'm looking forward to seeing what the Packers do, and this is a broad observation because they're going to have options in free agency. What are they going to do to upgrade the team with guys who may want to come play with Aaron Rodgers? What are they going to do with the guys they currently have? Will Aaron Jones be back? What are they going to do with their draft picks? What are they going to do about receivers? What are they going to do with Jordan Love? Could they trade him after 1 year? Could he become a guy who gets caught up in this quarterback carousel? You can't rule out anything at this point. But with the things that Aaron Rodgers said immediately after the NFC Championship game, with the way the Packers traditionally operate, which is you are just an employee, we'll take care of finding the players, we'll take care of running the team. Fascinating to see if the Packers make a change in an effort to go all in one time, get that second Super Bowl for Aaron Rodgers, or whether they will continue their attitude of we're going to run the team as we see fit, and if you don't like it, too bad. You're under contract, Charean.
I think the one thing you can count on is the Packers not to use their first-round draft pick on a quarterback this year. Can you imagine what would happen in Green Bay if they did that? I think it would explode probably. But they've got a lot of questions, Mike, and they've been on the cusp for the last 2 years and can't get over that hump. They've got to do something to help Aaron Rodgers, who, frankly, the window is closing a little bit on his chance to win a second championship. And we all thought Brett Favre would get more than one. He didn't. And here Aaron Rodgers sits with more MVP awards than he has Super Bowl championships. So he's ready to win another one. And the Packers need to help him do that.
A lot of quarterbacks out there trying desperately to get to 2, most prominently Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, and Patrick Mahomes. A complicating factor, Mike Pettin, the Packers defensive coordinator through that game from 16 days ago, 17 days now, will join the Bears as a senior defensive assistant. He knows a thing or two about what Aaron Rodgers can and can't do. That makes those 2 games even more interesting than they would be. All right, next up, Charean, what are you looking forward to this offseason?
Well, Mike, let's go back to week 9, right? The Saints demolished the Buccaneers 38-3, and we were talking about the Saints as Super Bowl favorites. Oh my gosh, how have things changed since then? The Saints, as division champions, now are in a rebuild, and they're chasing the Bucs. Frankly, they won the division, yet we feel like they're chasing the Bucs, who got the Super Bowl title. And they're in the worst cap situation of any team in football right now. If it's $180 million, they're almost $75 million over the cap. We know that they can manipulate that, but they have 60 players under contract. They're going to have to move on with some of those guys. What does Drew Brees do? Did the Saints re-sign Jameis Winston? Did Sean Payton see enough of Taysom Hill in the 4 games that he started to have faith that he is their quarterback of the future? A lot of questions for this team, and starting obviously with Drew Brees and what he's going to do, which I think we all expect him to retire. So then the question becomes who replaces him at quarterback.
One of the most overlooked nuggets of Super Bowl week, and there's so much that happens that it's hard to keep up with all of it, when Drew Brees voluntarily and unilaterally reduces his salary from $25 million down to the minimum with no quid pro quo, no bonus, right? That was clearly and simply an effort to allow his retirement to be processed after June 1 reducing the salary cap hit this year and reducing dramatically the cap number they have to carry until June 1 by dropping his salary by $24 million. And it makes it much easier for the Saints to go out and put a team around whoever the quarterback will be, whether it's Taysom Hill, whether it's Jameis Winston, whether it's someone else. Last one for me. The broader impact of a potentially reduced salary cap on the NFL's teams, specifically the teams that are in cap trouble. And before you can sit down with the NFLPA and negotiate what the cap will be, and that negotiation happens every single year, it's the product of back and forth between the league and the union as to what the proper number should be, team by team spending limit. This year, before you get to the point where you negotiate with the union, the teams have to get on the same page. Some teams want it higher, some teams want it lower. And that's one of the reasons why it's going to take some time to get to the point where they even are ready to go to the table with the NFLPA. And an item that I noticed earlier today from Jabari Young of CNBC, he reports that the league wants to have deals in place, not necessarily buttoned up and signed, but deals in place with the networks for the next wave of TV contracts. That tells me if they get the kind of money they're looking for, then it becomes easier to move money around and maybe pump up the salary cap for this year and basically borrow from revenue in future years to make it high enough so there isn't this chaos when it comes to free agency and you've got veteran players who get squeezed out. They don't make much money. Teams end up falling apart potentially or relying upon really young players. It's going to be fascinating to see how all those pieces fit together over the course of the next 6 weeks, Charean.
Yeah, and Mike, we talk about the 17th week of the season, too. They've kind of sort of committed to that, but are we going to see that 17th week this season? Are we going to see fans in the stands? Are we going to see full stadiums? All those things are going to play into how this cap ends up looking.
And I think we're going to see 17 games. I think they want the union to say, hey, you know what? We used to complain about 17 games. We think we would like one now because it helps us make back the money. All right, what's your last one, Charean?
My last one is the 49ers. Are they going to look to upgrade on Jimmy Garoppolo? We know last year they looked at Tom Brady and the way things turned out, Mike, that they didn't go that direction. The question for Jimmy G is, can he stay healthy? I mean, we just haven't seen it over the last 3 years. 2018, he played 3 games. He played all 16 in 2019 when they go to the Super Bowl. And then last year he comes back and he plays 6 games. He also was hurt in New England. So I think you have to take that into account. So what do they do at quarterback? At minimum, Mike, I see them going out and getting a veteran quarterback to come in and back him up.
Yeah, look, I think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be gone. I think they're looking at all options. The cap hit is minimal, $2.4 million. From moving on from him, I could see him land with the New England Patriots. And, you know, I've mentioned a couple of times that the 49ers did look at Tom Brady. Tom Brady wanted to play for the 49ers. They evaluated the situation and they said no. And the knee-jerk reaction from a lot of fans is, well, that doesn't mean the 49ers would have won the Super Bowl. No, it doesn't. But it also means the Buccaneers wouldn't have won it. If anything, it means the Chiefs would have completed the repeat by beating whoever it was that would have risen to the top of the NFC.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.